Hey folks, today's video is brought to you by SalvageReseller.com. This website allows you to bid live on online salvage auto auctions without a dealer's license. You can register for free or use the 20% off coupon in the description below. Go find your salvage car gem now.
Hey everybody, welcome to a great video for you today because we are talking about one of the most iconic four-wheel drives on the market, the Toyota 4Runner, and we're talking about the future of the 4Runner because we've seen the new Tacoma, Toyota has previewed the new Land Cruiser, we've seen the new Lexus GX, but the big question is, where is the new 4Runner? We've been waiting for so many years. This car debuted back in 2009, and in this video we're talking about, do we need a new 4Runner? What to expect? What I hope it's going to look like, some of the pros, some of the cons of the current one, areas Toyota can improve, but more importantly, areas that Toyota got 100% right. So they have lent us this 2023 40th anniversary edition for this video today, and I want to talk about this generation because the 5th gen of the 4Runner, which has been around now for going on 14 years, has truly solidified itself as being one of the best four-wheel drives on the market. They nailed some design elements, they nailed some powertrain elements on this thing, and have really built one of the most capable, one of the best tunable platforms on the market. Now, this vehicle is powered by a 4-liter V6, 270 horsepower, 278 pound-feet of torque, and that is mated to a 5-speed automatic transmission. The only transmission available, I think the last car sold here in the US, still available with a 5-speed automatic. Now this engine has proven itself to be so unbelievably stout. They use these engines in the previous generation of the Tacoma. They used them in the FJ Cruiser. They've used them abroad in the 70 series Land Cruiser. The 4-liter in this, well, really it is a truck, is super stout and very unfuel efficient. So figure mid-teens, maybe high teens on a daily basis, especially if you're doing city driving. This combination does not lend itself well to performance. Now, if I were a genie, I would predict that this upcoming generation of 4Runner, the 6th generation, is going to have the 2.4-liter turbo that we've seen in the Highlander, that we're getting in the new Tacoma. And a lot of folks are concerned about that, right? Because a lot of the old school off-road folks hear the word turbo and they think of turbos from the 1980s, like the Omni GLH, the Quattro turbos from Audi, and they were magnificently powerful and woefully unreliable. But what you got to consider is that that technology has been around in passenger cars since the early 1960s here in the US, and it's been perfected over the years, and Toyota in particular will not release a new product unless it meets its rigorous durability testing. So for those of you thinking, ooh, turbocharging, I'm not so sure from a longevity standpoint, I am not too worried because of those letters on the hood there. If Toyota's going to release an engine, we sure do hope that it's going to be good. And it's not the first time Toyota has messed with turbocharging. Toyota did the turbocharging back in the 1980s in some of their trucks. But more recently, of course, we've seen like the Lexus LS have turbocharging, LX have turbocharging, Tundra, that new 3.5 liter. We've seen that 2.4, prove itself now for a few months in the Highlander. So I'm not too concerned about that. What I am a little bit concerned about though is some things in the front of this vehicle. So if you look down here, Zach, you might notice that the current 4Runner is very stout, right? We got real skid plates, we got real recovery points here on this vehicle. This is a vehicle intended to be taken out into really rough terrain and be recovered from that rough terrain. Now, all of that's great, but all of that adds a tremendous amount of weight, and it also adds a tremendous amount of technical challenges when it comes to creating a crash-worthy structure. So, for example, exposed recovery points look fantastic, but are really hard to pass pedestrian crash standards, and especially with new crumple zones, like Jeep had to put huge amounts of technology in the new Grand Cherokee to have a tow hook that's strong in one direction but collapsible in another. In the new Tundra, no availability of tow points whatsoever. In the new Tacoma, Toyota smartened up and added the tow points. So I sure hope when Toyota launches a new 4Runner, we get those recovery points. Now, coming along the side of the vehicle, this is the big question I have, right? What is the 4Runner going to be based on? Because historically, if you go back to the early 4Runners, through the 80s and the 90s, they were basically Toyota trucks with a livable topper on the back is the best way to describe it. The front ends were the same, the interiors were the same, the powertrains were the same. But as time progressed, the Tacoma and the 4Runner kind of deviated a little bit in some significant ways. Now the engine and the transmissions may have remained the same, but the front end design, the interiors, the way the back seat is integrated has historically, been pretty different, as we saw, the fourth gen 4Runner, and then of course the fifth gen of the 4Runner really was very different from the Tacoma that it's based off of. But Toyota has previewed new Land Cruiser on an Instagram post. We know there's a new GX. I personally believe that the Lexus GX and the Land Cruiser are going to be very tightly correlated when they hit the US market. I also think that we're going to see a new change for the next generation Tacoma 4Runner, where those two are going to be very tightly correlated, just like the new Tundra and the new Sequoia. So I'm kind of, if I look into my silver ball in terms of development cost, I'm thinking that we're going to see the new 4Runner go back to its roots of being based on the Tacoma and very closely related. Because now that the Toyota SUV lineup is so fragmented and so divided, I think that's kind of where it's going to be in the sweet spot. So on the low end, you're going to have the crossovers, Corolla Cross, RAV4, Highlander, the big Highlanders on the luxury side. Then on the off-road side, you're going to have 4Runner. Then you're going to find yourself in a Land Cruiser, which is going to be based on the GX, then the Lexus version, then the Lexus LX. So that's kind of where I'm thinking things are going to go. Now, as we make our way toward the back, Zach, this 40th anniversary has some really cool graphics. Love them. I love that Toyota's embracing some cool color options, some cool graphics packages. Same thing with the bronze wheels. They look great. And one of the most iconic features in the back of every 4Runner, of course, the rear window that slides down. This 4Runner, I think the 5th gen, was a great balance of space without sacrificing departure angle or approach angle that much. It's a really good kind of packaging marvel. Spare tire lives underneath. I'd love to see, if we get a hybrid version, a much higher wattage there on the onboard power. So I predict we're probably going to see a 2.4 liter hybrid max, just like in the Tacoma. I hope we get at least a kilowatt of onboard power, at least 1,000 watts, preferably 1,500, and then go up from there. All right, Zach, that was a good little discussion, but let's hop on in. We'll take this thing for a ride and talk about areas Toyota needs to improve upon from a driving standpoint. Now, this interior, when we do see the new Tacoma, I predict is going to be completely redone. We're going to see the newest generation of Toyota infotainment. Here, I can take the camera from you so you can put your seatbelt on there.
Thanks for that.
So this is the old version, very functional, but by no means flashy. And it is looking very dated in 2023. It's also pretty slow to respond to inputs. It's actually, once you get used to it, it makes a lot of sense, but it's by no means the newest and the latest and greatest. The new Tacoma, the new Tundra have moved to the new profile-based system, which I didn't love at first. I'm learning to like. It's the same system we also see across the Lexus lineup. You can probably predict that to be in this vehicle. This is, I think, an 8-inch screen. We're also going to probably see 12, 13, 14, 15-inch screens on the new 4Runner, if I had to take a stab in the dark there. But one thing I love about this interior is how functional it is. So lots of hard controls, physical knobs for the temperature, physical knobs for the direction of the air, physical knobs for all of the climate control in general. And what I love about that is you can operate it in gloves if you are out winching and you need to make an adjustment to the volume or the tune or whatever, right? If you're working in gloves, it's all super doable. And that is one area where I wish that the new Tacoma would be a little better in, is like just the physicality of it, because so much of it's integrated in the touchscreen now. I would still love that to see the 4Runner stick with some of these hard controls. Same thing with like the 4-wheel drive, right? Very accessible, easy to get to, 2 high, 4 low. Same thing with the transmission selector, big, chunky, right? I love all of these, the controls in here. Not to say that the interior looks modern by any stretch of the imagination, but I still hope that they retain some of that ruggedness in the new generation. Some things that they could probably lose. The 5-speed is pretty dreary. So in the 3rd gen Taco, they went to that 3.5, 6-speed combo, right? And we all thought that 4Runner was going to get that. and then it never did, and that's good because that 3.5 6-speed combo never worked for me. It was always hunting for gears. It was never in the torque band. This 4-liter 5-speed, nice wide torque band, right? You got a lot of area under the curve when you're trying to pass and accelerate if you look at the power curves, but it just sucks when it comes to rapid downshifts, and it just sucks when it comes to fuel economy. So probably 8-10 speeds in the new one, if I were to guess. Follow the Tacoma trend, right? But some other things we need to talk about is some of the off-road capability and some of the features. So I'd probably guess that we're going to see not only TRD off-road, TRD Pro versions, but Trail Hunter versions. Trail Hunter's cool, right? Kind of more an overlandy based spec. Everyone overlands their 4Runners. It's a trend now, rooftop tents. Lots of kind of functionality for long distance travel. I think we're probably going to see that same thing in the 4Runner, and maybe even like a factory winch option would be cool. But I'd love to see more availability of locking rear diffs. So currently you can get a locking rear diff on the off-road trim and the Pro. But like, for example, this SR5 Premium, which is what the 40th anniversary is based on, it uses A-Track. Love A-Track, it's great. But I'd love to be able to get like a locker option across the board. I really think that'd be fantastic. And then in terms of comfort, the car's comfortable. It's got a lot of space in here. It's got pretty good seats considering this thing's 15 years old, right? They really nailed the seat, I think. Larger individuals fit. Skinnier individuals that are shaped like string beans like myself fit in here. I think, the thing about the 4Runner, which I'm struggling a little bit with, is everyone, especially in the media landscape, gives this vehicle a lot of heck because, yes, it is a little bit of a dinosaur, but they still sell tens of thousands of these every year. They're still one of the most capable vehicles, one of the most reliable vehicles on the market, and they're very... I wouldn't say utilitarian in the same way that like a 70 Series Land Cruiser is, but they're very usable on a regular basis, very off-roadable, and they have a wide spectrum of what they're good at. And I really hope Toyota doesn't lose that in the new 4Runner, and that brings us to price. So this vehicle, as you see equipped, it's got the 40th anniversary. It's one of 40 being produced. I want to say it's like 48,455, so somewhere in that territory. 4Runner starts realistically low 40s, maybe high 30s if you get one smartly. If I were to guess, just like we're going to see with the new Tacoma, nothing's been confirmed, but I think we're probably going to see $4 or $5 grand price increase. So I would guess that the new 4Runner, when it debuts, probably going to be 45, probably go into the mid 60s, high 60s. Cars are getting expensive. There's no way around it. Trend's not going to stop anytime soon, unfortunately. I wish it would, but I probably would guess new 4Runner starts 45. And this is where I'm going to go a little off kilter here. I do think that the new 4Runner is going to be very closely related to the Tacoma, similar to how the new Sequoia is similar to the Tundra. I think it's going to be 45, 2.4 liter turbo base engine, 2.4 liter hybrid. In the upper trims, we're probably going to see a Trail Hunter. We're going to see our TRD Pro. Probably going to see some cool tech. Going to see some bigger screens. And timing is the big question. Toyota is just, boom, one after another new model, right? It was like Tundra, Sequoia. Then we saw the new Tacoma. Now we're going to see a new Land Cruiser here shortly based on that teaser that they kind of spread on Instagram. I think we're a whiles out. I think if we see, fingers crossed, we're going to see Land Cruiser this summer. I think we're probably going to see the reveal of the 4Runner end of this year, beginning of next year, if I had to guess, and then see it hit dealers summer of next year. That's kind of where I would guess that the timeline would be. I have no internal knowledge. I wish I did. If I did, I would share it with you, but that's kind of where I'm guessing and hoping that we're going to see the new 4Runner. But overall, guys, this thing's old. Yeah, it's not very sophisticated. It still is fantastic. I love it. I wish and hope that Toyota does a great job on the new one. I'm very excited to see what they do. Love to hear feedback in the comment section below. This has been Tommy behind the camera wizard Zach.
I don't know if I'd call myself a wizard.
He's a wizard in training. Let us know what you guys think, and we'll see you in the next video.